Today I want to talk about Wink and its viability going forward, because the Wink, the price has just dropped. And it continues. This is a 4-hour chart. Let's go look at the 1-day chart. You just look at it. It just goes down. I mean, and this went down just in a few days from 0.025 in what, less than a month? If you look at that, 0.025 to, I mean, 0.085. I mean, that is just, I mean, enormous losses. But, and I'll share with you what I've been doing at the end of this video. But for now, let's just talk about, maybe what's going on here a little bit. If you come look at the news, if you go look at, the news. If you go look at Telegram, and there's not any major announcements or anything going on here. But all you got to do is read through here a little bit. And this is one of the best, Wink is one of the best telegrams to read through to understand the mentality of cryptocurrency, particularly in the dApp space, but I think it's really across the cryptocurrency board. And please don't take this the wrong way. If you fall in this age group, I'm assuming that I just saw that there's 10,000 people, almost 10,999 people, 11,000 people in here. So again, this is really kind of a microscope or a magnifying glass, I guess, of the mentality in crypto. And that is, it's extremely short term. There's a tremendous amount of lacking in investing mentality. There's zero patience of any kind, and there's no understanding for fundamentals, like not even a little bit of understanding. And for most people, and I'm talking about the herd, I'm talking about the 80 to 90% out there. I'm not talking about everyone, but all you got to do is just kind of read through a little bit, and you're like, what in the world is happening with people? It's kind of like people that are like, oh my God, the sky's falling because Bitcoin's down. But I did a video yesterday talking about, Bitcoin going to $1 million, which I want to respond to one of the comments on that video here as well. So I'll do that towards the end also. But, the reason that Bitcoin's going to $1 million, in my opinion, is simply because the fundamentals are beginning to show, and continue to show every single day, that there's going to have to be a new economic system in the world. And I think most likely cryptocurrency is going to be that. But let's just look at some of this. So people are talking about we still get payouts more than 20 days a month. So people are complaining that the divs were negative somewhere, which is, this guy saying, hey, we still get positive payouts 20 days a month, which is amazing. Honestly, people overreact. Of course they overreact. It's kind of weird how crazy people overreact. I invested in Bitcoin sites, whatever that means. When will divs of live come back? And really, there has been months where the site ended losing. Literally months, not a few days. This is not correct. But at the end of the year, the house is the winner. That is correct. I mean, people don't understand, and I probably wouldn't either had I not had a little bit of experience in way back when in casino marketing. And the way that worked back then, it's a little bit different now. Now they do CPA offers where they'll pay like $100 or $200 to bring in a customer. But back then, you were paid the same way a lot of dApps pay. You were paid like a percentage of it wasn't divs, it was a percentage of your players, of the profit generated by your players. And on occasion, you would be negative. And what would happen is they wouldn't charge you, you just wouldn't get paid. But it makes sense. There's a reason casinos have table limits. Have you ever thought about that? Why in the world, if a casino knows they have a statistical edge against you, why would they have a table limit? Because they know that if they didn't have a limit in the short term, anybody could win by keep increasing their bets and getting lucky. In the short term, anyone could martingale. The martingale strategy can be so devastating for or against the player and the house. If you understand that strategy. If you don't, this video is not about that strategy. And casinos know that because anybody can get lucky with big bets in the short term. And if you get lucky enough with big bets, it is possible to bust a casino. So, and that's occurred. So that's why they put limits. In fact, it has occurred in history with the martingale strategy. So that's why casinos put limits on tables. They know that they're going to take losses in the short term from time to time. So that's why divs are going to be negative. It's just mind blowing. People don't understand that. But let's keep going. And the discussion here is it's very beginnerish. Like it's like they zero have any understanding or concept on the business model or the long term consequences. Do you know what I mean? So watch. Sports is not making a profit. It's negative. I've been alive since day one. This is directly related to sports, nothing else. Live was very consistent up until sports for months, so it's definitely is the cause. I don't know anything about that because I'm not in live very much, and I don't sports bet a whole lot. Things will change for live. Did someone compound so far and tracked it down? So they're trying to figure out where the winners are. And when things change for live, everyone will be jumping ship to catch the nice live drops. Maybe. I mean, sports betting is a big market, but it's really just for those who want to sports bet. I mean, if you're not a sports bettor, you're probably not going to become a big sports bettor overnight. Sports is a long-term winner, 100%. Every single game that Wink has is a long-term winner. 1.5 million TRX or so payouts per day on live drops is not bad at all. This is at a time the platform is being built. We should remember that. This is true. This is someone who kind of gets it. I agree. I like Rake and I like. So this is where it gets interesting. I like Rake and live more than dice. It sounds crazy, I know, right? This guy says I like all, but can there really be better? Wait, can these can get really better with time and both still undervalued? I agree with that. Has the WIN token had one positive day in terms of going up in the price for the last 2 weeks? This is important. By the way, it's a silly question. All you have to do is come to Trontrade, go to the daily, and you can see there's been positive day, positive day, positive day, positive day, positive, 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 positive. Every green candle is a positive day on the daily. So when someone says, has there been one positive day, that just shows you the mentality. Like, it's gloom and doom. It looks like a good 25%, maybe 30% of the days are positive. But of course, it's called recency bias, right? Everybody remembers recently it's been down. Has there been any positive days? Yeah, there's been some positive days. It's just been down lately. But that doesn't matter. You're just talking about in the past 30 days. Who cares? And by the way, here's the other thing. The price doesn't matter if people are still playing, and this is why. Cryptocurrency dividend, you can go to, where's it at? Wink. There's only one Tron DApp ahead of Wink, and it's Tron Vegas. And they're running some sort of big promotion right now. But if you look at Wink, when the price drops, the price is lower than this right now. As the price continues to drop, as long as player pool continues, which Wink has one of the most solid player pools, period, end of story, means these divs are going to be higher. And by the way, anytime you see the divs very close together on the 7-day average and the last 24-day average, that means that they're pretty consistent, pretty stable. That's not a bad thing to see when you see them, very similar. So like you see this right here, 78% for EOS real, 41%. It just means they recently had a pop. And that 78%, this would probably be much lower if it wasn't for the 78%. So this means that, this would be much higher if it wasn't for the 41%. This means that for whatever reason, there's been a huge drop in volume. But people get excited if this number was big and it was bigger than this number. It's the same thing. It's just showing inconsistency of divs. It's not necessarily anything to get excited about. I always prefer to look at the 7-day average. And this is based off the 7-day average. But even with the 7-day average, if the price goes down on Wink, it's going to keep paying out. It's almost at 0.2% now. 0.2% is 6% a month. And it's in the lows. Could it keep going lower? Maybe, but that just means if you are still investing, if you're dollar cost averaging or Tron cost averaging into Wink, which is what I'm doing. I'm buying like 100, 200, 500, 1,000 Tron worth here and there. And I'll tell you how I'm doing that in a moment. But that's what I'm doing. Why? Because if you believe in it, and I'm not going to say I believe today it's a clear winner. It doesn't mean it's going to be the clear winner. It doesn't mean there's not going to be another winner somewhere. But it's hard to deny Wink's track record. So the divs just keep getting better if the price of the token keeps going down. That's the bottom line. Let's go back. It doesn't mean something couldn't happen negative. It doesn't mean they couldn't do something crazy, change the token, whatever. Here's another thing. We're in a low news cycle. My buddy Chris mentioned this. I thought, yeah, you're right. We're in a low news cycle right now for Wink. There's been no major news. The moment news comes out, this price could pop a good bit. But let's go back to that. I want to go back to the Telegram because it's so telling. Most of the dice bets are just people mining. Most of them don't want to gamble, so people start arguing as dice long term. Has the win token had one positive day? Today up 4%. Awesome job. That was yesterday, I think, or this morning. I'm not sure. It's not up right now though. While in poker, people are playing for the sake of the game. The same thing for live. I guess since it has live, casino, and sports bet. When mining dice gets harder, I guess the volume in live should be bigger. Oh, this person was saying price was down. Okay. Yeah, I love poker, just not many tables playing high. I agree. You're not crazy. I'm the same. For me, there's no future in dice. It's pretty boring, to be honest, or to be fair. Yeah, I agree with that. But let me just say this, Shakar, who's also a viewer of this channel. And he, by the way, people start disagreeing with him a lot here. But he says, for me right here, he didn't say for everybody else. The crazy thing is, I think dice is short term on every platform. But there will always be a certain amount of players who want to play dice. And even when Tronbet, before they did the transition to Wink, when they were kind of stagnant, kind of stale, kind of plateaued, people were still playing dice every single day, which is amazing to me that people keep playing. And it's still going. There's not any, I mean, people are still mining the heck out of it. It's been going on for weeks. There's not any other DApp that has been able to keep something like a dice game alive, putting up the big bets people are putting up. I mean, people are betting like millions of Tron on freaking dice. It's nuts. I mean, it's nuts. And I don't know if it's going to just suddenly dry up. But even if it does, so be it. Tronbet or Wink has more on their platform than any other platform to be able to keep some players sticking around. So while in poker, people are playing for the sake of the game, I would play poker if the entry price is lower. This is stupid. This is absolutely stupid. The entry price goes all the way down to 400 Tron. What's that, a couple bucks? If you don't have a couple bucks, you probably don't need to be playing. And when poker gets developed more, it will probably outperform both live and dice. Again, this is not accurate. This is just someone, here's the thing you have to be careful for when you are in Telegram. You have to realize that these are people from all walks of life, and some of them are just, they're just spouting opinions. Poker is not the number one income earner in any casino, period. Never has, never will be. People love to say things like, it's a thinking game. People say this about Blaze. It's a thinking game, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but it's the dumb games that always bring in the most revenue. It's the slots. It's not the table games. It's not blackjack. It's the slot machines. And I personally have never been a slot machine player. But those are the ones who bring in the most players. Poker is just another revenue stream. It's another thing to get another type of player in. That's it. And Wink knows this. That's why they have live. That's why they have sports betting. They're looking to appeal to everyone who wants to do something in the gaming space. All right, there's more gambling on live for sure. In sheer sake of gambling, that's fine. Live will be the long-term winner. Rake, I don't expect to do well. See, who is saying this and based off of what? What's his mentality? I mean, live may continue to do well. Sports betting may be a big deal. Here's what I can tell you though. Rake, the U.S. market can play Rake. You got to use a VPN just to get into the sports betting and the live area, or at least the sports betting and the actual live dealers. Rake is accessible to the casino market, so maybe not. I mean, I'm biased towards Rake, to be honest with you, but sports betting is a bigger market. So I get it. There will be a future for all. Shot Car didn't say there wouldn't be. But I agree with this. There will be a future. Definitely on poker as well. Tron trade pair in TRX. Okay, TRX is down. Okay. Live is months out before it brings in decent divs. Don't mind it unless you're ready to play the odds. Okay. There's no way to auto mine it, basically. I hear in chat that Wink runs mining events. Where are these and how often do they run? Yeah, they don't do them very often. And when they do, by the way, it usually creates a pop in the token price. Can poker have these as well? How's poker going to have these? They want people to play. But listen, poker's always been iffy. Even on big online games, you can log into poker. Like back in the day, you could log into Full Tilt at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And if you logged into Full Tilt, there might be 4 tables available that have empty seats at meaning that have players, but there's empty seats available. There might be 4 tables available 10 a.m. Eastern time. But you go in there at 8 o'clock, and there might be 16 tables available. Meaning there was a lot more tables than that, but they were just full. But you could find open seats at maybe, 16 tables or something. Poker's always iffy like that. This is always a funny question. 2.9 million live. What happened? People are winning. Yeah, especially after big sporting events. Like after the weekend or whatever, it's possible for any sports book or whatever to be down big if the games don't go the way they want. And that happens. Okay. So this is interesting. Tronics dude said you should see what is being said in some other groups. Dice is definitely not dead. There are people who have won 1 million TRX in one session of mining, and multiple people who have won in excess of 500 TRX in one session, and taking dice with them too. It's the flagship original game on the platform. The whales will always have their stomping ground there. I don't know if always sounds too definitive, but this is absolutely still going on. Like I was just told about this maybe 2 days ago, and I was like, what? Some guy was in there dropping 100 Tron bets. That's not happening on any other platform. We're just talking about a couple of days ago. There are whales that expect this thing to keep going for a long time, and it helps that Justin Sun is heavily into Tronbet and Wink. So here's my thing. I think Wink's a long-term play. It doesn't matter whether you favor dice, live, rake. I think Wink is the long-term play. I mean, as long as there's going to be divs, Wink shares the profits of everything. 30% of all the profits, I think, goes to Wink. So Wink's a long-term play. So here's what I'm doing. I just keep buying underneath the market. I come to the daily. I come down here and I look at where, right now it's at the very bottom. But usually if I'm over here and there's some candlesticks, I just come to the bottom of a couple of candlesticks. I'll place an order. Now here I would just come, I see 87. I'd probably just zoom in. Once I look at where the price is at, I'd probably zoom in and try to figure out where I want to be at. And usually I want to wait for the market. So every few hours it seems to have a candle that dips down here. I may come all the way, because the price is coming down, I may come all the way down here. And there's been 1, 2, 3 dips down this low. So I might put in a buy order right there. And it may take a day or 2 or 3 to hit. My last buy order took 4 days, 5 days to hit. But it hit yesterday. And I was like, awesome, and I just freeze those win tokens. And I'm just going to keep buying a little bit all the way down. Because at some point I think it's going to probably turn around. I think I could lose big on this, but I think Win is a long-term winner in my personal opinion. Now, with that being said, I want to address something real quick. So I'm going to put this video above, but I made this video yesterday, and this applies in part to what I'm going to address in one of the comments applies in part to Wink and really the entire DApp space. And it comes down to regulations. I think it's important if you watch this video, you understand why Bitcoin is going to go to 1 million USD. I think you need to understand that in the long run, governments are probably not going to be, there's a strong possibility. In fact, I would say there's a greater than 99% chance that governments are not going to be friendly to cryptocurrency. Even if they do have regulations supporting cryptocurrency, I believe that those regulations will skew against the small investor, the everyday guy, on Main Street. I believe that I believe that we may see positive regulations, but they're going to always cater to like the large financial industry, the big banks, the multi-billion-dollar hedge fund managers. That's just my opinion. But the reason is because if you understand cryptocurrency, if you watch this video, if you understand some of the use cases of cryptocurrency as a currency, then it's going to end up highly regulated on some levels. Now, we come down here and we were talking about Big Smoke. I want to talk about what he said here. By the way, you can go watch this video and you'll see what I'm talking about. But he said, well, the government will make it illegal to own Bitcoin or put all kinds of fees and taxes in the future. So I'm stacking solid alts like TRX because they're decentralized. Okay, yeah, but Bitcoin's decentralized, so I don't understand what Big Smoke meant here. But here's the bottom line, and I think he's trying to say, depending on the use case of the altcoin, maybe they'll allow certain use cases. And I think that's what he meant by that. I think he's probably right on that. But they're not the challenge is, in general, I don't think most cryptocurrencies are going to be favorable, especially when they are difficult to enforce. So here's the interesting thing about dApps. Now, Justin Sun is not going to go in today's society. He's not going to go, balk the U.S. government. If the U.S. government wanted to crack down and they wanted to stop, allowing dApps, then at least for Wink, they probably would stop allowing US players. They would at least require you to have a VPN to even access the website. And the only reason I say that is because Justin Sun is so heavily tied into Wink. Now, it doesn't mean that someone else couldn't create a Tron dApp, because no one can limit your use of Tron. But the government can still create laws. So as a citizen, if you're going to continue to use Tron in the dApp space, and if they ever come out with negative regulations saying that you can't do that, you got to understand, gaming is already heavily prohibited. Here's what's interesting. The government doesn't they kind of take a softball, low regulatory stance on online gaming. Very few, if any, US citizens have actually been prosecuted by the government for gaming online. Now, with that being said, some of the proprietors have the government has gone after some of the actual businesses themselves. So for the U.S. government to stop, the actual gamer, the actual player, that would be unprecedented, but it could happen. It totally could happen. But the other thing the U.S. government does is on online gaming, they try to stop stop banks and financial institutions from cooperating with the online casinos. That's why almost no casinos can U.S. players use like a debit card. Almost, even if they accept debit cards, if you try to process it from the U.S., they'll say, basically this isn't allowed from your region or whatever. So almost no. I have a buddy of mine who's from Norway, and he's like, oh yeah, I use Skrill Pay. I'm like, oh, Americans can't use Skrill. We used to be able to use Skrill and NetTeller and all that back in the day. That was the easiest way to put money on like poker sites back then. But then the U.S. government cracked down on those payment processors. Again, they didn't necessarily crack down on the players. They just made it difficult. What cryptocurrency does is it makes it difficult it doesn't require a bank or a financial institution. Now you start changing the game a little bit. That's what's interesting about Bitcoin when he says, hey, they're going to put fees and taxes on it. Yes, they can tax cryptocurrency, and I think they will start to tax it heavily at some point. But then I responded, true. However, keep in mind, when it gets that bad, no one's going to care about taxes and fees. Do you think people in Venezuela care what the president does? They don't care. They don't care if he makes it illegal to use Bitcoin. Ironically, I saw a news story where the government's becoming open to Bitcoin, and they're talking about their central bank buying Bitcoin. And if you remember one of my early videos, I talked about one of the things that may bring mass adoption is if central banks around the world start buying up Bitcoin. But that's another video for another time. And Big Smoke agreed, that's a fact. The thing about Bitcoin is it's difficult. It's difficult for the government to enforce anything. Now, I think most citizens are, law-abiding citizens and don't want to outright break the law. But if they ever get to the point where they don't care because they think the government is operating outside of their business interests, if that ever happens, then I think people are going to care less about what the government is telling them to do. Steamy Coins said they will not discriminate between BTC and TRX, but taxing it might be their only play. At least they cannot manipulate it like they manipulate the USD. I agree with this 100%. I believe that taxing it will be the play. I believe that they will tax it. However, you need to understand there's a lot of ways they enforce taxation now, but one of the things they do is they track down where the money is. It can be extra challenging to track down what's going on with your Bitcoin transactions. And yes, I fully am aware that the government can trace blockchains, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a lot of ways that people are able to move around Bitcoin that can still, not just Bitcoin, but transfer in and out of alts and different things. There are still things you can do to remain anonymous with Bitcoin. And that's exactly what the government's play, because what they're going to do, and they've already done it, is they're going to continue to launch mass PR stunts about how, all the drug dealers in the black market is using Bitcoin. And that's basically their best play, is to create a negative connotation against it, and then people for now want to mess with it. But what it's going to do is ironically create awareness that, hey, this is something that the government kind of has a hard time. It's not impossible, but they have a hard time of tracking it and that sort of thing. So now here's the issue. Here's the other thing the government does to enforce taxes is outside of jail time, the first thing they're going to do, jail time comes way late in the game. First thing they're going to do is try to like garnish wages and stuff like that. No one can garnish your Bitcoin. Nobody can garnish your Bitcoin. And if you've never experienced garnishing wages, thank God I've not been in that position. But I've had friends and clients that have had their wages garnished, and this number one reason businesses have their wages garnished is because of back taxes. And literally, the government goes into your bank account and pulls the money out. You don't get a say-so about it. They have a right to it because you owe it to them. Nobody can go into your wallet if you're the only one with the private keys and take your Bitcoin. Do you know how empowering that is for a citizen that nobody can go in there and take it? So yes, the government can tax it. Yes, they can put regulations on it. And as long as the government is still an honorable government, respected and trusted by the people, it will be effective. But the government has concern, and I believe that maybe if Bitcoin doesn't have a super mass adoption and it only has partial adoption, maybe that would create a very interesting checks and balances on the government, because now you have to treat the citizens a certain way, because if you run the risk of losing the full faith and trust of the citizens, then it's going to be much more difficult to be able to financially enforce anything upon them, because they're much more empowered. And I think governments fear, in general, losing enforcement power or coercive power, or however you want to say it. And so when you go looking at things like Wink and Tron, the single biggest risk to all that stuff is government regulations and how the market will respond if there's government regulations. So government regulations can look like this. All the major exchanges stop accepting Bitcoin and stop accepting US citizens. There will still be options. There'll just be less people doing it. That's the bottom line. But I think in the long run, because of this video, if you watch this video, I think in the long run, the government is going to lose the trust of the people. All governments around the world, all central governments around the world are on track to lose the trust. Is that going to happen in the next 5 years or the next 50 years? I don't know, but I do think that we're already headed down a path that we can't very easily do a U-turn. And I think the current economic system, dollar-based, fiat-based system that we're on, governments lose the full faith and credit of the people. And things like Wink in the gaming space, cryptocurrency for the fact of sheer currency mediums, and everything from Web 3.0. I'm so excited about Web 3.0. If you don't know what that is, you need to look it up. It's basically the internet on the blockchain. I mean, that sort of stuff is a game changer, and it offers a new level of freedom and security in that freedom for the average citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're in crypto today, if you're watching this video today, literally, you are so far ahead of the game. So far ahead of the game. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for my next video. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell notification icon. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know if you agree or disagree. By the way, are you in Win? Are you in Wink? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching.